All right. Today we're learning Maseches Sanhedrin Daf Ayin Beis, and as well, we're going to hopefully get about halfway down on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. I will not be here for Shabbos. Rabbi Handler will be teaching Daf on Shabbos. Really big blot on the Ayin Dal Amud Aleph, but the Amud Beis is also pretty small, so hopefully he'll be able to catch up. If he's a miracle worker, he'll get to the end of the parak, but you never know. Rabbi Ruvain Handler. We're starting it in. I try all the time, and he keeps telling me he'll do it with the group. Yeah.
You're also awesome.
Well, his accent's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's learn some Torah. We are at the bottom of Ayin Aleph Amud Beis, and we're learning a new Mishnah. We're going to learn a couple of new Mishnahs today, and that will bring us three Mishnahs actually to the end of the day on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Let's get started. Ben Sora Rumora Nidon Al Shem Sofo. When we decide in halacha to kill a ben sora rumora, that's because of what we project he will do. It's not because of the crime that he did, as we've already spoken about. At this point in his violations, he's stolen things from his father. He's eaten a tarte marshal basar, and he drank some yain ha'italki, and then we kill him. So the Mishnah is really answering that question. Why would you kill him based on these crimes? He hasn't really done anything worthy of a capital punishment. And the answer is that he's nidon al shem sofo. We are projecting. And then the Mishnah gives a rationale as to why we would kill someone before they would do their crime. Says the Gemara, why is this? Yamus zakai ba'al yamus chayev. It's better he should die innocent of his future crimes instead of guilty of his future crimes. So we'd rather him die young. There was a movie like this. I can't remember the name. It was Minority Report. That's the name of the movie. And in Minority Report, whatever the chap was, this machine could project who was about to do a crime. Nidon al shem sofo. Mamash. It should have. Pashut, the writer, was a yid who learned Daf Yomi. Came out around that time of the cycle,
It's like the yid is hopeless to do tshuva because of these characters.
The chap is that we don't kill them when they're born because we're all going to do averos. It's only certain averos that we are nidon al shem sofo, and we're going to actually focus on that a little bit in the last Mishnah that we learned today. That there are plenty of averos that we don't stop people from doing, but this one we're makbid on. There are a handful that we're makbid on na'ara me'ura. So we'll see there are a few that we're makbid on.
Probably minority party. You have no free will.
You have free will until the point that you reach a threshold, right? But the Ben Sora Rumora, he drank the wine and ate the meat. That remember how difficult it is to reach this, right? It's very hard to get here. I'm sure you do, but you're not the right age. So you're way too old for that. I know. Yeah.
Pretty sure she doesn't know that.
Yeah. This is also true. So basically what we're looking at over here is we're saying Yamos Zakai Va'al Yamos Chayev. A handful of times in halacha, the Torah will say better off that the person should die than live because we're afraid of what they're going to do. Shemisasan Shel Rishayim, when it comes to the death of a Rasha, Hana Lahen V'Hana La'olam. But because the person's a Rasha, better that they should die and better for the world. Better that they should die because their whole life is doing bad things. And better for the world because they are only doing bad things. When the tzaddikim die, ra lahen v'ra la'olam. It's bad for a tzaddik to die because he could have garnered more mitzvos and he would have had a better olam haba. V'ra la'olam, because tzaddikim, as we've seen in other places, they help to offset some of the negative things in the world. Yain v'sheina. When it comes to wine and sleep, l'rashayim hana lahem v'hana la'olam. For a rasha, they enjoy it very much, and the world enjoys it too. Because they're out of commission. It's not a compliment. So if you have a Rasha who's drinking a lot, we're like, Givaldik, at least he won't be himself. If he's sleeping, we're like, thank God he's not awake. However, tzadikim ralahan v'rala olam. For them, wine is bad, it distracts them. V'rala olam. We need our tzadikim to be focused. Pizur, when the Jews are spread out, the Rishayim hana lahan v'hana olam, they enjoy it very much, and the world enjoys it too. The reason the world enjoys the Rishayim spread out is because they can't band together to do their crimes. But tzaddikim, ra lahen v'ra la'olam, they don't enjoy it, and it's bad for the world too. We'd rather them all be together. Knos, what if all the Jews were gathered together? The Rishayim ra lahen v'ra la'olam. It's bad for everyone if the Rishayim are gathered. And this is just the inverse of Pizur. Well, the tzaddikim ra lahen v'ra la'olam. Sheket, what about silence? Silence is, I can speak from the child rearing days that if the kids were in the basement and it got very quiet, you knew something was really not right. And then you'd find like a kid in the washing machine or something. those kinds of things. So sheket, if it's quiet, l'rashoyim ra lehem v'ra l'olam, tzadikim hanoah lehen v'hanoah l'olam. Obviously, a lot of deeper Torah here, not for now. The Gemara says on the top of Ayin Beis Amud Aleph, Tanya, we have a brisa. Rabbi Yossi Aglidi Omer Rechim Ibnei Shachal Zeh Tarte Marbasa Rishasa Chatzi Lo Gyain HaItalki Amra Tori Yetze LeBezdin Lisakel. This now the Gemara is asking the question that the Mishnah was hinting to. Come on, the kid's deserving of skila. Granted, all the rules are complex and it's difficult to check all the boxes and the code of Amara, they have to look alike, they have to sound alike. But still, like that's enough of a reason to kill someone. The Torah reaches the end of the das of the ben Sora Ramor. Shesof megamer nichse. Maybe he's going to complete all of his father's possessions. And then he's going to keep seeking out that which he learned how to do. He's going to try and get a fix, and he won't be able to. Then he's going to go out onto the street, and he's going to start robbing people. It's better for a shame to die. And then I'm just going to read this part very quickly because we already translated it. It said yain v'shein before, just inverted. The Rishayim hana lehem v'hana la'olam, l'tzadikim ra lehem v'ha'olam. Sheker, if it's quiet in the world, the Rishayim ra lehem v'hana la'olam, l'tzadikim hana lehem v'hana la'olam. Pizur, the Rishayim hana lehem v'hana la'olam, l'tzadikim ra lehem v'hana la'olam. The only thing that's different over here is that it left out kinus. Well, why?
So everybody knows the Mishnah is in theory.
It's like 5
I
lines
didn't want to
later.
write it at all,
The Gemara is quoting a brisa. The whole thing's a brisa.
which is
But we see duplicative brises all the time. They weren't all learned and taught in the same way. At the same time, brises were not always known to everyone. That we've seen examples of that before.
Yeah, but why codify another Bryce?
You're assuming that this brisa was written after the Mishnah. That's not
the
necessarily.
Gemara quoted it 200 years later,
The Gemara quoted the brisa, yeah.
explaining the Mishnah.
The Gemara quoted it. The Mishnayos were codified in the early 200s of the Common Era, and then starting with because we don't know who put this in. We don't know. I mean, the theory would actually be that the authors of the Gemara. No, this could be pretty early. It could be. It's a fair question. Next Mishnah, famous Mishnah. Hababa Machteres, someone is tunneling into your house. Nidon al Shem Sofo. This guy is like the Ben Sora Remora. He also gets killed. Why? Because if he's willing to tunnel into your house, he's willing to kill you. It's an assertion that we make. We'll discuss what the scope of that, whether or not it's a suffix or a vadai concern that he's going to kill you. We'll get into that in the bottom of the page. That's din number 1. Let's say that a person is baba machteres. If he's baba machteres and he's willing to kill someone, that's not good. So then what happens if he also breaks something along the way? He drops a flower pot while he's doing his thing. Im yeshlo damim. If he still has blood, meaning if the guy who is tunneling in is not willing to kill, so then we don't employ the rule of kamle b'derabamine, and therefore he'd be chayiv on the chavis. So there's two things at play here. There's the guy digging a tunnel to go into your house, and then he breaks a flower pot. If he's chayiv misa, then he doesn't have to pay for the flower pot because kamle b'derabamine, when there's two isurim happening at the same time, the greater onesh applies, and misa is bigger than the flower pot, so you'd be pater. Im yeshlo damim, if the guy does have his blood to him, namely he's not chayiv misa, he'd be chayiv on the pot. Im ein lo damim, if he is going to be held accountable for his actions as it relates to tunneling in and he's chayiv misa, then he's pater on the flower pot. Amarava my time of the machteres. What is the reason why the halachos are the way they are in a machteres? Namely, why did the Mishnah say that a person who tunnels into your house is nidon al shem sofo? What's the reason? Says the Gemara Chazaka, ein adam mamid atzma mamono. No one's going to stand idly by while their money is being taken. That's what Rashi says over here, a stark Rashi, the Bramaskil Chazaka. Ein adam mamid atzma mamono, a third of the way down. She'acher not lo v'shosek. He's not going to stand there and be quiet. Hilkach yodeh haganav hazeh she'ba'al habayis omed al mamono lehatzilo. He knows that the guy the Ganav knows that the guy is going to stand over his gold and he's going to fight for it. And if he shows up, I'm going to kill him. That's why the Mishnah says, Nidon al Shem Sofo. The fact that you're willing to tunnel into the house, that means that you're willing to kill. That means that you deserve to die. And therefore, if a third party sees you tunneling into the house, they can kill you. They can shoot you. Just goodbye. You're done. And halachically, I don't know how this would work in American law. If you see someone breaking into a house, can you shoot them? I don't know. Like, I don't know. What if there's, we'd have to know more information. If nobody's home,
I don't think that's enough in American law.
but but we'd have to know that someone's in the house, right?
Yeah.
Vadai, and you have to assume that they're also willing to kill. So let's say they're walking in holding a gun, and you know someone's home, and it's an old lady. Right. So the case, all the details will change. All the details will change the psak. But if you knew for sure, you can kill the guy. Absolutely. So says the Gemara, that's the din. That's what Rava says is chazaka. No one's going to stand idly by while people take their money. V'hai meimar omar, and the Ganav is thinking like this, and Rashi quoted this. Azilna, if I go in there, koila apoy velo shavikli, he's not going to leave me alone. Koila apoy katonale, I'm going to kill the guy. Vator amra, and this is the line that we have to sear into our memory. In balahorgecha hashkem lahorgo, a very well-known line. If someone is coming to kill you, you get to kill him first. This is what we call the din of rodef. If someone is chasing after you to kill you, you can turn around and you can kill them. Baseball bat, gun, bow and arrow, crossbow, whatever makes you happy, you can kill them. This isn't capital punishment. This is balahorgecha, hashkem lahorgo. All of that is the first part of our Gemara today for Baba Machteres. Now we have to have a discussion about whether or not this guy actually does have to pay for the kli that he broke. Says the Gemara as follows. Amar Rav. Rav says, and we're a third of the way down in the Gemara in Ayin Beis Amud Aleph. Hababa Machteres v'notal kelim v'yatza pater. If I'm tunneling into someone's house and I steal something from the house, I'm pater. What was the case in the Mishnah? I broke something. There we said it depends. Here we say you're pater. My taima. Because, says the Gemara, bedamim kananhu. He purchased it with his own blood. Namely, since the Baba Machteres is chayiv misa, so therefore, we don't, because the punishment of chayiv misa is so terrible, it's so high, we therefore overlook, we nullify the punishment of having to pay back that which he took. Amar Rava, I'm not sure. Mistaber milsa de Rav b'sheshiber delesnu. I could understand the din of Rav that you're going to be pater when the item that you stole is no longer in existence. I broke it into 1,000 pieces. I sold it at a pawn shop, whatever the case may be. Aval notal, but Rava wants to push back on Rav and say that if the Baba Machteres, the Ganev actually stole the item and it's intact, so then he's not pater. Then he has to give it back. So I'm tunneling into your house and I find an iPhone and I take it. What the Mishnah had said is if it broke, then I might be pater if I'm chayiv misa. But if I took it and it's perfectly intact, just like this, so then maybe I have to give it back. That's what Rava is saying. Asks the Gemara, Bohelokim, absolutely not correct. Amar Rav, afilu natal. Rav holds even if you take it and the item is intact, you are still going to be pater. Daha yesh lo damim v'nensu chayiv. If the guy is yesh lo damim, in a case where the thief can't be killed, so for example, where a son is tunneling into a father's house, a father will never kill the child. So then he's chayiv alma birshusei kaimi. What does that tell you? It still belongs to the owner. Hachanami birshusei kaimi. The same exact thing is true over here. That it's birshusei kaimi. It belongs in his rishus. It belongs even if the kalim that he stole are in good shape. Kim lebederabbimine still applies. So says the Gemara, that was the argument of Rav, and then the Gemara rejects it. Velohi kiu kimna rachmana birshusei le'inyan onsen. No. The only time we would say that the item that was stolen is in the property of the actual owner was by an ones. Aval le'inyan mikna, but when kiu kimna rachmana birshusei le'inyan onsen. When is it that the Torah says that the product that you took is actually in the Ganev's possession? That's by ones. Aval inyan mikna, but when it comes to making an acquisition, birshusei demaraihu kaimi midi dehavi yashol, then it is actually like it's in the possession of the original owner. If I steal your iPhone, it might be in my possession, but it's still yours. So the Gemara says that you might still have to return it. Says the Gemara, let's check out our Mishnah and compare it to this din of Rav. Tanan, we have a Mishnah. That's our Mishnah. Baba Machteres v'shiber es hachavis. That's the second part of our Mishnah. That if a person is tunneling into someone's house and they break a barrel, yesh lo damim chayiv. If he still has his blood to him, namely, if he's not chayiv misa, when would he not be chayiv misa? So he would not be chayiv misa if he's tunneling into his son. If a son is tunneling into his father, if a father is tunneling into his son's house, because he's never going to kill his son. But ein lo damim, if the guy is willing to kill, so then pater. And says the Gemara, taima deshiver. The reason why he's pater is because the thing is broken. Dechi ein lo damim pater. And because he has kamle b'derabamine, he has no blood, namely he is chayiv misa, he's going to be pater. Hanata lo. But the diuk is that had he taken an item and the item is still intact, even if he's chayiv misa, he still has to pay back. And says the Gemara, hu adin, that's not a good question. Hu adin, afilu natal nami, that even if he still took it, Rav would still say that you are pater because of kimle b'derabamine. Hai b'hai the katani shavar es hachavis. Then why did you say shavar es hachavis? That implies you left room for an implication that there's a difference between shavar es hachavis and breaking and not breaking the chavis, but that's not really correct. Why would you say that? Says the Gemara. The reason why we have shavar es hachavis is kamash malan dechi yesh lo damim, that if a person does have their blood, namely they're not chayiv misa, afal gav deshiver nami chayiv, that even if you broke it, you're still going to be held accountable. So it's for a side aspect. Says the Gemara, that's ridiculous. If you broke something, pshita maziku. So let's say I break into someone's house, and it's a case of yesh lo damim. It's a father is breaking into his son's house. 0% chance the father will kill his son. That's just not the way the world turns. So then, and you break something. So what do you mean? We have to learn from the word shavar es hachavis et yochayiv. You're a mazik. You're a mazik. If I walk in your yard and I kick your flower pot and it breaks, I don't need a Mishnah to tell me that I'm chayiv. I have Psukim and Chumash to tell me that you broke something that belongs to somebody else. It says the Gemara, no, hakamash malan dafilu shelo b'kavana. No, the Gemara is teaching us a chiddush that my intent wasn't to do that. My intent was to break into yours. Derech agav, I accidentally broke the flower pot. Says the Gemara, you're still chayiv. Says the Gemara, what do you mean shelo b'kavana? My kamash malan. Adam muad la'olam. We know from other Masechtas and Shas that a person is always muad. They're always considered to be someone who damages, even when they sleep. So even if while a person is sleeping, they break something, pashut, if you're tunneling into my house and you accidentally break a flower pot, you're obligated to pay. Says the Gemara, where do we see this idea? Tanina, we have this from the Bavas. This is from a Mishnah in Bava Kama. Adam muad la'olam ben b'shogeg, ben b'mezid, ben b'ones, ben b'ratzon. You are a balachrayis for your body. You're obligated to take care of your own motions. Awake, asleep, shogeg, mezid, ones, ratzon. If I walk by your house and b'shogeg, I break something of yours, I am obligated to pay you back. The only exceptions to these kinds of behaviors is when it comes to being a shomer. We know if you're a shomer chinam, you're pater from gneva ve'aveda. But if you are not a shomer and you're just walking down the street and I'm like in conversation and I don't look and I kick your flower pot that's on your grass, I have to pay you back for that. Says the Gemara Kasha, this is taka, a good question, and ruins the whole line of reasoning. And 10 lines from the bottom, the Gemara quotes a case that we've seen many times in Shas, originally listed in Maseches Ksubis in the Lameds. Masiv Rav Bibi Bar Abaye. He asks the following question: Agonev kis b'Shabbos. If somebody steals a purse of coins on Shabbos, chayev. The halacha is that they're chayev. They're chayev for what? They broke Shabbos and they stole. Why are they going to be chayiv to return? After all, the punishment for breaking Shabbos is skila, and Geneva is not that way. Geneva is a lesser punishment. Kefel, whatever you have to pay. So why are you chayiv in both? Because within the world of kimle b'derabamine, the only time we employ that rule is when the two things happen in one moment. Sharei nischayv b'gneva kodem shiyavu lidei iser Shabbos. So if I'm in your house and I steal your iPhone, I pick it up, I make my kinyan in your house. My gneva is done. Now I'm walking out of the house and I'm going from a Rishus HaYachid to a Rishus HaRabim. You want to say the Isurim didn't happen at the same time. So if I stole something and made a kinyan in your dining room, and then I go outside in Hilchos Shabbos from Rishus HaYachid, then I'm going to be chayiv. That's pashut. I'm chayiv on both. I'm going to be chayiv to pay back, and then Bezdin's going to kill me. They're going to say skila. However, let's say what I'm stealing is very heavy. and I am dragging your item out of your house, when does my kinyan take place? My kinyan on the theft takes place when the item that I'm dragging goes over the threshold from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. What else happens in that moment? You broke Shabbos. So there you have everything happening at the same time. Why? What do we see from this brisa? We see that you don't have to return the item. We were trying to figure out the sheet of Rav. Rav told us that you are pater, and Rava wanted to say, yeah, you're right, there's kimle b'derabimine, but if the item is intact, even though kimle b'derabimine is true, you still have to give back the item. So the Gemara says, what about the case from Shabbos, from Ksubas? The case from Ksubas says that if you drag an item out of a house, you didn't pick it up, you didn't do Mashicha, you didn't do Hagbah. The only way I'm making a kinyan is by Shinui Rishus. So the second I drag it over the threshold, I both steal and violate Shabbos. What does the Gemara say? The Gemara says you're butter. But the item's still intact. Kasha and Rava. So the Gemara says, V'hilchasa, you're absolutely right. V'hilchasa, maybe in that case it was the Shadanhu Benara. Maybe the case was where, yes, he took the money out, but now it's been thrown into the river. So no. So that implies, as a conclusion to the Gemara, that implies that it would be the case that Kamle b'derabamine is true in regards to onshin, that if I do two things, the greater punishment overrides. However, if what I did on the lesser side was steal and the item is still intact, it's implied from the Gemara that I would still need to return that item. That's what it's implied from the Gemara. Rava tells a bit of a story, or the Gemara tells a story about him. Ignivu le dichri b'machtarta. They stole dichri, they stole rams from him. And ahadrinhu nehale. People stole them, and they stole them from his house in tunnels. And then they gave it back. Ahadrinhu nehale. You know what he did? He sold for him. Velo kablinu. He didn't take it back. Why wouldn't he take it back? Because he said, Amar hol v'nafak mipume de Rav. Because Rav says that even if the item is intact, when kimle b'derabimine is employed, you're putter, even if the item is intact. So he said to the guys, you stole it fair and square. You keep it. Don't give it back to me because you're chayiv misa. And if you're chayiv misa, there's no need for you to give me back the items that you stole because he holds like Rav. End of the sugya. The Gemara is now going to analyze some psukim. Very helpful to see the psukim first. If you have the psukim on the side, there are actually two psukim, one after the other. This is Shmos Kaf Beis, Aleph and Beis. We'll read the two psukim together, and then we'll see that the first drasha straddles both psukim. Im b'machteres himatze haganav, if we find a thief in the tunnel, v'hukav mace, and we hit him and he dies, ein lo damim, he has no blood, he was chayiv misa. Im zorcha hashemesh alav, if the sun shines on him, then damim lo, shalem yeshalem, then he has blood, then you have to pay him, im ein lo, v'nim kar b'gnei vasa. Let's see what the brisa says. 5 lines from the bottom. Tanu Rabbanon. Ein lo damim, the pasuk says in the first pasuk, ein lo damim, that's actually the end of the pasuk, and then it straddles to the next pasuk and says, im zarcha hashemesh alav, if the sun shines on him. The Gemara asks just a layup of a question. Why are you talking about the sun shining on one person? That's very weird. Says the Gemara, if it's so clear to you like the sun rising, she'ein lo shalom imach, that this guy doesn't like you, hargehu. The imlav, if it's not kishemesh, if it's not 100% what his intentions are, then al targehu. Namely, the din of baba machteres in this brisa indicates you can only kill someone when you know their intentions. You know that they're there to kill you. Tanya idach im zarcha hashemesh alav damim lo. There's another pasuk that only quotes the second pasuk, another brisa, that only quotes the second pasuk, that im zarcha hashemesh alav damim lo. And this brisa asks the same question, but remember it didn't have the words of ein lo damim from the previous pasuk, only im zarcha shemesh alav damim from pasuk beis. V'chi hashemesh alav bilvad zarcha ele im barulach keshemesh sheyesh lo shalom imach, the opposite. If the clarity is that there's peace with you, then al targehu. V'im lav, if you're not sure if there's peace with you, then hargehu. Kasha stama stama. This has, the brisa have very opposite impressions. The first brisa indicates that I can only kill if I know that he wants to kill me. So that limits the din of Rodev to Vadai. He says to me, I want to kill you. He's chasing me, then I can kill him. The second brisa says, once you know he's not b'shalom with you, you know he's going to kill you. He's just not your friend, and he's breaking in. So then halachically, he is down for the count. So this is the stira. Which one is it? Can we only kill when I know that he's going to kill me, or can I even kill when I just know that he's not a good friend of mine? Says the Gemara, lo kasha. I'll give you a super clear answer. Ayin beis and beis. The Gemara says, kan be'av al haben, kan be'ben al ha'av. It depends on what case we are talking about. In a case scenario where it's ab al ben, so says the Gemara, take a look at Rashi actually. Ab haba al haben b'machteres, if a father digs into a son's house, misafek al yahar gehu beno. I mean, if there's an aspect of suffix, most fathers don't kill their children. So then, if there's any degree of suffix, you can't kill them. Devade rachme av al beno. Then the father's for sure going to be merciful. What about the next part of the Gemara, on the top line of the Gemara? Kan ben ala av. One is where the son is going in, and in that case, that's already more, right? A son is more likely to kill a father. I know this is surprising, but a son is more likely to kill a father than a father is to kill a son. I guess, but if that's your comparison, it's not so surprising which one is which, but still pretty shocking. Omar Rav, Kol de asi alai b'machtarta k'til nalei. I would kill everyone, he says, except for lebar me Reb Chanina bar Shila, except for one yid, Reb Chanina bar Shila, my taima. Ilema mishum de tzadiku. If you want to say it's because Reb Chanina bar Shila is a tzadik, well, the case you just gave was haka'asi b'machtarta. The case that you gave is he's digging a tunnel. You're saying if he would dig a tunnel, which is usher, into your house, if he's digging a tunnel into your house, then you would say that he's chayiv. You'd say that you would not kill him. So it can't be that he's a tzaddik. He holds of me. He says because he treats me like his son. So there's no way that he would ever kill me. All right, now we have to analyze the words damim lo. Tanu Rabbanan ayin beis amid beis, 6 lines down. Damim lo, says the Gemara. Let's look at the pasuk damim lo. The pasuk says, Im zarcha hashemesh alav damim lo. If the sun shines upon him, then he has his blood. So says the Gemara, damim lo, bein bechol, bein b'shabbos. Says the Gemara that he has blood, so we're not going to kill him during the week or on Shabbos. Ein lo damim. If he doesn't have blood, namely if he is chayiv misa, so then bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos, you can kill him on the weekday or on Shabbos. No distinction for Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Bishlama ein lo damim bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos itzrich. That drasha we needed. Sal kadai techamina midid dehavi aharuge bezdin. I might have thought that when we were talking about killing someone who's baba machteres, that perhaps we apply the same rules of haruge bezdin when we kill someone in bezdin. De b'Shabbos lo katalina. I might have thought that there was an equivalence between the killing of a guy who's digging into my house and the rules of capital punishment in bezdin, and that is that we don't mete out the punishments on Shabbos. Kamash malon de katalina. And the chiddush of the Gemara, and that's why when the Raisa says ein lo damim, it says bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. That's because you need to know that if someone is digging into your house even on a Shabbos, you can kill that person. Grab a shovel and kill him, no problem. Ella, says the Gemara, I don't understand the first part of the drasha, first of the long lines. Damim lo b'chol bein b'Shabbos. If the person does have blood, we don't kill him in the weekday or on Shabbos. Hashtu b'chol lo katlinan le. Now that on Tuesday we're not going to kill him, do I need you to tell me b'Shabbos mi boya? Pashut that if you're not going to kill someone, you're not going to kill them on the weekday. You're obviously not going to kill them on Shabbos. This is to teach us another din, to teach us that if a father, Rashi explains the case over here, that if a father was digging into the house of a child and the rocks fall on him on Shabbos, and if in fact he's not someone who deserves to die, but the rocks fell on him, then you can remove all the rocks on Shabbos to help him be saved. Tanu Rabbanan, 2 lines into the wide lines. The pasuk says v'hukav, a very unique phraseology. Let's look at the pasuk on the side. Im b'machteres himotzei haganev. If we find the Ganav tunneling into the house, the pasuk says v'hu ka v'meis. He gets hit and he dies. It's not that you need to hit him; it's that he gets hit. So says the Gemara, v'hu ka b'chol adam. Even a third party can kill that guy. That's a fascinating idea. So that means that I watch someone tunnel into your house. While I'm doing that, I can kill that guy for you, right? That's what the Gemara says. What does it mean when it says umeis? That's when it says v'hu kav umeis. V'chol misa she'atayachol lehamiso. You can kill him however you want. Like we pointed out, it doesn't really matter how you kill him. Now, bishlama v'hu ka b'chol adam. I understand why you needed to teach me that a third party is allowed to kill. It's trich. Sal kadai techamina balabais hu dekim lehu de'ein adam amid atzmal mamono. I might have thought that maybe only the balabais is allowed to kill that person. Aval acher lo, but a third party is not allowed to kill that person. Kamash malon derodefu v'afilu achar nami. Kamash malon says the Gemara. It's now clear that that person is a rodef. If I see someone chasing you to kill you, I can kill him however I want on your behalf because you're not available to kill him. You don't even necessarily know what's going on. Ella says the Gemara, I already know this din, that I can kill him in any way that I wish. Where did I learn this from? Merotzeach nafka, about a third of the way down. I learned this from a din of Rotzech. We saw this earlier in the Masechta. The Tanya, we have a brisa. Actually, we learned it in another Masechta in Bava Metzia. I thought we learned it here. Mos yumas hamakeh rotzeachu. He gets killed. Maybe when I give a guy capital punishment, it's only the misa that was granted to him. From where do we know that if I couldn't mete out the punishment that I was supposed to, how do we know that misa can be given out in any other way? Okay, he wasn't able to get his regular punishment. Sniper, goodbye, 1,000 yards out, no problem. Says the Gemara. So what do we learn from there? Talmud Omar Mos Yumas Mikol Makom, that you can kill him in any way, shape, and form. So then why do I need the drush of the word V'meis B'chol Misa Shatayachol Hamiso in our case, Baba Machteres? I don't need you to tell me that. I already know that from the Gemara, and Baba Metzia. Says the Gemara, that case may not be comparable to ours. Shani Hasam Da'amar Kra, a double language of Mos Yumas. Over there, by the Brisa and Bava Metzia, the language is Mos Yumas, and it taught us a specific din, perhaps by Bezdin. But our case is not a din by Bezdin, so Havamina that maybe I can only kill him in certain ways. In our case, that's why we had the lashon of the mace. Says the Gemara, V'nigmar minei. Why can't we learn from the Mos Yumas? It says the Gemara, the reason why is like this. When it comes to the world of a murderer and a goel adam, so each of them teach the same exact thing. And the rule is, we can't learn anything from the world of Rotzech because it's part of a limited halacha, a limited scope of halacha of Shnei Ksuv and Abayin Ke'echad. Tanu Rabbanan, the Gemara says halfway down on Ayin Beis Mad Aleph, Ein li ela machteres. I only have what's stated in the pasuk, that you're digging a tunnel. How do I know if someone's breaking into my house that I can also kill him, like the din of our Mishnah? Gago chatzera v'karfifo minayin tamalamar yimatzei haganim mikol makom. Wherever you find the ganim, I don't care if you're crawling through my window. It doesn't matter. I can kill you on the spot. In kain matamalomar machteres. Why then does the pasuk speak this way? Just say im bala beischa, kill him. Why does it have to say the word machteres? So the Gemara says mipnei sherov ganavim mitzuin beginuim b'machteres. That's the normal way to break into someone's house. That's not the normal way today to break into someone's house because we have cement foundations and it's very difficult to break into a house. Today, what they're going to do is find an unlocked window. So that's easy, right? Fine. Tanya Idach, another brisa on the same topic. Machteres, ein li'ela machteres. Why does the pasuk say machteres? Gago chatzer v'karfifo minayin. How do we know that it would be the case that if a person broke into your house another way that you would be allowed to kill them? Talmud Lomar, Yimatze Hagana Mikol Makom, that no matter what, you're allowed to kill him. Imkain Matamulomar Machteres. So this second brisa so far sounds very similar to the first one. Why then did the pasuk choose Machteres? We're going to see a nafkamina in a moment. It says the Gemara, Machtaraso, when he digs into your house through a tunnel, Zohi Hasra'aso. That's considered his formal warning. So here is the difference between the two brises. In the second brisa, it indicates that there's a din of hasra by Baba Machteres, a din of a warning. If the guy is crawling into my house from underneath, he digs a tunnel, I don't need to give him hasra before I kill him. However, if he comes through any other way, he comes in my front door with a gun, I have to give him hasra before I kill him. So says the Gemara. Amar Rav Huna says, Katan harodev, if there's a child who's chasing another person to be killed, nitan lahatzilo benafsho, you can kill him. You can kill him. You have a child walking with a bomb. What are you supposed to do? It's either you or him. It's a horrible moral decision, but it's not complex. He's a rodev. It's just emotionally difficult. It's not intellectually difficult. He's a killer. He's a killer. He deserves to die. Kasavar, rodef eno tzarech hasra. It seems over here that there is no hasra. Loshna gadol, loshna katan. It seems not like the way that we just saw. So that's how Rav Huna learns. Eisver Rav Chizda Rav Huna. Rav Chizda says Rav Huna, wait 1 second. Let's say that a woman is in the middle of childbirth. Yotza rosho. Once the child's head protrudes during the birthing process, even if the mother's life is at risk, ein noginbo. We're not allowed to kill the baby in order to save the mother's life. Normally, the Torah's approach to abortion is that if the baby is sacrificing the mother's life and he's not yet born, then we would abort the fetus to save the mother's life. Normally, that's the case. But once the baby, his head exits the body in the birthing process, then his life is now perfectly equal to her life. And then you're not allowed to kill him. Lefisha ein dochen nefesh mipnei nefesh. So halacha is super, super clear. This is something that is not the case in the world around us where abortion is unclear. The amai. Why would we say that? Why would we not say that the baby is a rodefu? Says the Gemara, shiny hasam. The case of a baby that is causing for his mother's death is not because the baby is a rodef. Shiny hasam dimishmaya karad fila. That's because that's from upstairs. That's not, the baby has no bechira. The baby doesn't even know that he's a baby. And if he happens to be trying inadvertently to kill his mother, he doesn't know that it's happening. He doesn't know what's going on. Says the Gemara, Nema, perhaps mesayele, perhaps that we can say that this is a support for the following. Rodev shehaya, rodev achar chaver lehorgo. A man was chasing after his friend to kill him. Omer lo, he says to the guy, Re'esh Yisrael hu ben bris. Somebody gives him a warning and said, the guy you're about to kill, he's a yid, he's a ben bris. Torah amra shofech dam ha'adam b'dam ba'adam damo yishafech. He quotes a pasuk to the guy, Amra Torah hatzel damo shel zeh b'damo shel zeh. I'm going to kill you if you don't stop killing him. Now, normally in the hasra that we need, the guy has to respond, I hear you and I don't care. So in the case that's presented over here in this brisa, he doesn't do that, which means that this isn't a proper hasra. That implies that you don't need a proper hasra. This was an improper hasra. So says the Gemara, that's a kasha on the brisa, because we wanted to say that what was the first case? That you don't have to give hasra. Says the Gemara, here Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, that case is different to Tanya. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Omer chaver ein tzarech hasra. We don't have to give hasra to a chaver. A chaver is a person who is a higher level Talmud Chacham. He knows what he's talking about. Because it's not, hasra was only to give us, was only to remind a person the difference between a shogeg and a mezid. But if you're a chaver, you're giving shiur. You know, you're a Talmud Chacham. You know what's going on. So that's why a chaver doesn't need. So perhaps that case was the case of a chaver. The next argument on our comment over here of Rav Huna, let's see. Tashma, rodev achar chaver leharga. Reuven is trying to kill Shimon. Amar lo reish Yisrael hu ben brisu v'ator amar shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam dam yishavech. So the guy gets the warning, and what does he say back? Im amar. Oh, so now we have hasra. Im amar yodea ani shehu kain. I know the halacha. Then pater. Menas kain ani oseh. I'm doing it because of that. Namely, I'm trying to break halacha. Then chayit. So we see that there is a form of hasra. Says the Gemara, lo tzricha. That case was different. The koi betray ibra denara. The person giving the warning and the recipient of the warning were on different sides of the river. So the person giving the warning couldn't have really done anything else. And why would he do that? Delo matzi atzule, couldn't save him. Ma'ika. So what's the benefit of the warning? Deboyi isuye lebeidina. And Beidina boy hasra, because even though I can't stop the guy from killing because I'm too far away, I don't have a gun, I don't have anything that can kill him from afar. All I can do is say verbal warnings. But Lamaisa, what am I supposed to do? If I want him to go to Bezdin, now he's been warned. Now I can bring him to Bezdin. Ibai, same another possible answer is Amar Lach Rav Huna, Ono de Amre Kitana de Machteres to Amar Machtarto Zoe Asra Aso, or just the digging itself is a hasra. That brings us to a new mission on the top of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Just a few more minutes. We'll be stopping about halfway down on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. These are the people who we are allowed to kill in order to save. Ruvain's trying to kill Shimon. Ruvain gets killed. This is the din. If you see someone who is pursuing another man to sleep with him, you can be matzilo sobenafsho. He can be killed before the act. There's a man who says, I'm going to cohabit with this young girl, 12 to 12 and a half, who's married. He can be killed. Aval. If someone is going to violate the Isra of Mishka Behema, a person says, I'm going to be Machal Shabbos, which is really interesting. A person who says that they're going to be worshiping Avodas Kochavim, they too are not killed, even though if I try to convince you to do it, I would be killed. But the person saying on his own that he is not killed, those are Ein Matzil and Osan Benafshan. Let's learn some Mar Mekomos Tana Rabbanan Minayin L'Rodef Achar Chaver L'Hargo Shenitan Lehatzilo Benafsho. How do we know that there's a din of Rodef Bichlal? If Ruvain's trying to kill Shimon, how do I know that I can kill Ruvain? Talmud Lomar Lo Samar Al Dam Reyecha. This is because of the pasuk that says you cannot stand idly by while your friend is being killed. Says the Gemara, you cannot use that pasuk. The pasuk of Lo Samar Al Dam Reyecha has been used 10 times over. If I see someone drowning, or I see an animal's dragging him away, or listin boinalav, or he's being ambushed, there it says says the Gemara, inachanami, 100% right. Misquote by me. I didn't mean that. In those cases, we already used that pasuk. Okay, so let's try again. How do we know that we're in fact allowed to kill someone when they're a rodef? We learn it from the world of Na'ara Me'urasa. We're going to learn from Na'ara Me'urasa back to our case of Ruvain trying to kill Shimon, that we're allowed to kill the person that Nitan Lahatzilo Benafsho. Ma Na'ara Me'urasa Shelo Ba Ela Lepogma. When a man was trying to cohabit with this woman, he wasn't trying to kill her. He wanted to be pogame her. He wanted to make her lose her besulim. And even there, Amr Torah Nitan Latzil Benafsho, then Rodef Achar Chaber Lehargo Alachas Kama V'Kama. If you're going to kill someone for cohabiting with an Aramu Rasa that won't kill her, it'll just lower her status. It'll make her from a Basula into Be'ula, and it's horrible. I got it. And the violator deserves to be killed for that. So then Kol Shekain, if he's going to try and kill someone, he should be killed for that. If Reuben's going to try and kill Shimon, says the Gemara, wait 1 second. Hold on 1 second. You're going to give out an onish because of a kal v'chomer? That's something that we don't necessarily say. This is something that we learned earlier in this Masech that's also found throughout Shas as a general principle that ein onshin min adin. But over here, it seems like you're learning from Na'ara Me'urasa and saying kal v'chomer in a case where you're trying to kill someone, pasha that you should be killed. So says the Gemara, Debei Rebbe Tana Hikishahu. He says, it's not a kal v'chomer, it's a hekish. And a hekish is more powerful in this regard than a kal v'chomer. What's the hekish? The pasuk says, "Ki kasher yakum ish al re'ehu v'ratzcho nefesh." That's what the pasuk says. That just like when a person gets up and kills his friends, so says the Gemara, "V'chi ma lamadnu me'rotzeach." What does this have to do with rotzeach? This pasuk is talking about a nara. So says the Gemara, what is it teaching us? Makish rotzeach l'na'ara me'urasa. And here's the hekesh that teaches us that that when Ruvain is chasing Shimon to kill him, that we kill Ruvain. Says the Gemara, Makish rotzeach l'na'ara me'urasa. Ma na'ara me'urasa nitan latzil benafsho. Af rotzeach nitan latzil benafsho. So therefore we see, not because of a kal v'chomer, and not because of the pasuk of lo samod al dam reyecha. How do we know that if Ruvain's trying to kill Shimon that we can kill Ruvain? It's a hekish, not a kal v'chomer, it's a hekish from Na'ara Me'urasa that af rotzeach nitan latzil benafsho. Beautiful. There's only one thing missing. How do we know that by Na'ara Me'urasa, the man's not going to kill her? What about other cases of Eish Esish? Why don't we kill a man before he does that violation? What's Dafka by Nara Murasa? Just she's 12 and a half. By the way, if she was 11, no, we wouldn't kill him. You violate her, that not violate. It could be consensual. It's still usher. If she's 12 years and 7 months, no, we don't kill you. Just Nara. What's so special about Nara? I'm not being insensitive. I'm trying to understand. What is Nara Murasa? What's so chashuv? So says the Gemara, Nara B'Nara Murasa Gufa Medalim. Kidatana Debei Rabbi Shmuel. The Tana Rabbi Shmuel. Ve'ein Moshi Allah. Let's look at the pasuk because it'll really stand out when we read it. Kiva Sadem Tza'aka Na'ara Me'orasa. In the field, they found her screaming. The girl who's engaged. Ve'ein Moshi Allah. What?
In the field, he found her, and she screamed, the Amos Sheila, but there's nobody there because she's outside of the
Yeah,
city.
that's what I meant. What did I say?
He said they found her screaming.
Yeah.
That defeats the purpose. If they find her, then there's somebody to help her.
Oh.
There's nobody to help her.
And she was screaming. Very
She was
good.
screaming, Amos
Yeah.
Sheila, but nobody heard her.
Correct.
because she's out in the middle.
Correct. Good correction. Thank you. So the Ein Moshiach, Hayesh Moshiach, but if there was someone who's the exact opposite of what I was trying to say. So it says the Gemara, if Ve'ein Moshiach, but Hayesh Moshiach, if there was someone there, B'chol Davar Yachol Lahoshia, then in any case scenario, he can be killed. We're going to stop right here at Gufa because we're past our time limit here. And in Yirtzeh Hashem, Reb Ruvain Handler will take over on Shabbos halfway down on Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Wishing you all a beautiful Shabbos, and in Yirtzeh Hashem, I'll be back on Sunday night.